So we've got multiple news stories to cover today on another edition of Palace News. More on Mateta. Is he going to Genoa? What's the latest news? Vicente Guaita being courted by La Liga once again, this time from another club that you may have heard of. Joachim Andersen, another center back that might be on the move, that has some interest out there from other Premier League teams. And Palace turns down a bid for one of our bright up and coming academy players. So we're going to dive into this stuff with you guys here in just a second on another edition of Palace News. What's going on, people? Welcome to another edition of Palace News. I am your host for today, T, and I'm joined by none other than the infamous man himself, AJ. What's going on, man?
Nah, man, all good, man. All good on my end, man. What about you?
Man, life trying to live it, man. Everything all good over here, man.
Good to hear, sir. Good to hear.
But before we get started, everybody, first of all, shout out to everybody that's out there in the chat, viewing live right now. But whether you're live or whether you're viewing this on YouTube after we've gotten it done, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate it. Does a ton for us here at the channel and back in the nest, man. All right. So we got 4 different things that we want to talk about today. A little bit crunched on time. So we'll probably only be here about 30 minutes. So we want to get straight into things and making sure that we are covering everything, talking about everything that we want to talk about today. So we're going to start it right off with the, I guess I say continuing rumor that Jean-Philippe Mateta, or as we call him, JP, has some serious interest from Serie A with Genoa, who is actually going to be making their return to Serie A next year. Apparently, they are seriously interested in bringing him in, and the latest news says that it will likely be a loan move. Now it comes from Calcio Mercato. So, me personally, I do not want to see this move as far as it being a loan. I would love to see a direct sale because we know what the loan move means for us as far as the finance piece. But AJ, just give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm exactly in the same boat. You know, I was hoping that they'd come and buy him, or at least have an obligation to buy him. Whether that gets added to the deal, that's yet to be seen. As far as having him in the squad is concerned, take the loan. Hopefully he'll go there and score 5 to 10 goals. They'll get gassed, buy him permanently, and we go. Like, that is very black and white as far as I'm concerned with Mateta. I'm just hoping that the club has something up their sleeves in terms of some sort of element of a replacement. But as far as I'm concerned, I would happily ship him on his way, mate. You know, I'd ship him on his way. You know, Mateta's given us some very, very nice moments, you know, on occasion, and he's kicked a few corner flags, but I think his time is up. Good time to sell, good time to get rid.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, and I think as fans, we want to see the upfront sale just because of all the rumors of the lack of funds for other moves. Now, let me ask you your opinion on this. Is it smart of us to be doing this type of business with possibly loaning out one of our current 2 first-team strikers without having anything in place to bring in another one?
The only reason why I'd agree with it is he's not being productive or doing anything here anyway. So it's not to say, you know, we're sitting there, we're going to miss like 10, 20 goals a season. If he goes, I mean, if he goes there and he flops, he ends up coming back anyway, so we're stuck with him. If he goes there and he does well, we can sell him. There's not really a win-win in this situation, because if he stays in the team, he's not going to have any kind of impact in the squad unless obviously some kind of new manager comes in and somehow unlocks him. But let's be honest, man, I think we made a mistake and maybe signed him permanently, to be fair. Mateta's wash. He's gash. He's terrible. He's no use to us. So if we can get him out the door, maybe free up some wages for another player to come through the door, I'm for it, man. Let's go.
And I think it's one of those things too. It's like, who do you see really as your second striker? Can you step in and have somebody like IU step into that role and have just as much success as somebody like Mateta would? So therefore, you're okay with letting him go. We don't know what's going to happen with Wilf, but either way, I mean, business is business, and I understand that we gotta, try to make some moves. I would prefer that it was an outright buy. Jordan says here 7.5, 8 million. What do we value him at? I would think that's probably around what I would want for him. 7, 8 mil, But
Oh, I mean, is he even worth that much though?
I
That's the
would
thing, man.
I would only say so because he's still in his mid-20s. I mean, a lot of people probably feel like there is a player in there, maybe just not at this level. You know what I
But
mean?
you know what? The thing that always sits in my mind with Mateta and his history was he always used us as a stepping stone to move on to a bigger club. So
If he cursed
I
himself
mean,
with that,
he's used us as a stepping stone, but maybe not in the direction he planned initially. To be fair, he's obviously
hey, stepping stones can go down.
yeah,
Steps
yeah,
go up
especially if
and
they're
steps
sitting
go
on
down.
some loose ground. To be fair, but
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, Italy's a bit of a slow league. They've got a bit more of a defensive presence, however, so he's gonna have to go there and show himself. It depends, like it's well. Cheers for that, man. Cheers for that.
No, but here's an
I'll
interesting
take
one from
anybody.
Isaac. I think we should keep him. He's a great squad player, even if he's not the best to start. He's always tricky and something different to bring off the bench.
You got half a point there, Isaac. I kind of half agree with your point because there have been times where I, on this same show, have historically said, maybe we give Mateta some games, but in terms of every opportunity he's given, I mean, how many other opportunities do you want to give him? He does score goals, and I be honest, he has scored important goals. But I feel like if you had another half decent striker there, they would get as
He
much
wouldn't
goals,
even be
if not
seeing the
more.
pitch. Probably wouldn't
Yeah, I
even be
mean,
seeing the pitch.
so um, I don't know, man. This whole summer's just dragging for me in terms of what Palace are doing or not doing. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, man, let the guy go. He's not going to start week in week out for us. I don't even think he's actually Premier League level. Maybe it's time to say goodbye, man. I think it's time that if we can get a return on some of our players in the team and start making a bit of profit and a bit of money off him, let the guy go, man. And if he has a half decent, successful loan spell, and we can collect 8 to 10 million at the next summer, do it.
Do it. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, if we're gonna do the loan option, I want it to be an obligation and not an option. Excuse me. I want it to be an obligation. Like at the end of the season, they are going to buy him. They have to buy him. That's part of the agreement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, just as funny enough, I just read Isaac's point there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing I've noticed with Mateta from the social media setup and interviews and everything, I think he believes in a lot more of his own hype rather than actually being as good as he thinks he is.
Which could be poisonous for an athlete as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a bit of error delusion about the guy, to be fair. And even my own delusion, I believe that he's better than he is. And I think coming to the sort of struggles that we had, I kind of looked at him and I realized that, bro, you just look like a clumsy genius. Like he just always looks just like he always just looks like he's ready to lose the ball, the spaghetti legs thing. I can only handle one striker that can't control the ball out of club, man. We can't have two of them. Mickey Mouse and them trying to sort themselves out against the starting 11, it's just not going to fly for me, man. If we're serious about whatever's, that's the thing, I don't even know, serious about building and boosting up the league, serious about improving as a team, well, that's not going to happen with Mateta in there. It's just not.
Yeah. So, speaking of our hero question, is it a profit? How much do you pay for him? No, it's not going to be a profit. More than likely.
Nah, we'll take a loss on him.
I believe in January of, was it 22?
Yeah, we paid, what was it, 14, like 15 or 12, something?
I thought it was 12 million.
I think it was like 12 with add-ons, but
I think
let's
it was
be honest,
14 million. I thought it was like 14 million euros or 15 million euros. I think it came out to like 12 million pounds. And then I don't know what his original loan fee was.
Either
Um,
way, like he's not been worth it. The only way
yeah,
we can
it'll
win in
be
this, like I kind of said, is if he goes there and he tears it up, and then somebody like a Solarov kind of setup.
yeah, it'll be
You
it'll
never
be it'll
know.
be a loss for sure. But if you recoup some of that money, at least it goes to something else, and hopefully it's not a complete loss overall. So we're gonna move on to the second piece of business here. So a lot of you may have heard about the news about Vicente Guaita having some interest back from La Liga. In particular, I think we talked about before was from his former club, Getafe.
Valencia. That
It
was good. That
will.
thing.
It was top. This time it's Valencia, and it's an
Uh,
interesting thing because uh, he actually, I saw that he actually like commented on somebody's Instagram
yeah, I
post or something
translated
like
a
that.
tweet. It just meant he just said like great times or
Yeah,
wonderful times. Like
almost like reflecting on his time there or something like that.
yeah, but
But
he's from there. His family and people are all from there. I
mhm.
don't think it's a non-starter. He doesn't look particularly fussed about leaving anytime soon. Obviously, he's at a certain age, and obviously he knows he's not going to last forever. And Johnson's kind of giving him something to worry about. I'd even say Whitworth could potentially be giving him something to worry about. But I still think he's got a year with us. I'd still happily keep him. I feel like if Johnson drops off form and gets an injury, he walks back into that team.
Because so apparently it says that he would welcome a return to Valencia in the window, and that Valencia have contacted his agent to ask about a situation at Palace and if he's open to return to his former club. The report makes it clear that Los Ches haven't yet presented an offer, but are aware that his exit would not be traumatic for the Premier League side. Now, not being traumatic, I think that's kind of it depends. It depends because we all know what we heard in reference to Sam Johnston and Everton, so we don't know, you know, what
I
the
I don't know. I'm not really convinced he's gagging to leave as such.
no.
I think we can afford to have him for the rest of the next season and just see how it plays out. And I think even him in his right of minds might be sitting there thinking, all right, let me just see how this is going to play out. Am I going to just be on the bench? Because remember, we could lose him as soon as January.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes wrong in terms of his place in the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do know he's still, as far as I'm concerned, he's still a competent keeper. I still have a lot of faith in him. If Sam Johnson then went to the bench and Guaita was back in the team, I wouldn't be fussed about that. I still think he's a brilliant goalkeeper. And I think he's a brilliant person. Funny enough, that Isaac was saying about squad morale, I feel like he's got the right mentality in terms of he's a professional. He gets on with
Oh
his
yeah,
job. He keeps his head
absolutely.
down. Great example. And I think he would just be a great example to have around for the other goalkeepers, especially up and coming ones in the team. Yeah, I don't think there's much in it. A lot of Spanish, well, not even the Spanish players, a lot of players from different parts of the world, if they come from a certain said part of the world, they do get homesick. I remember that happened with Man United with David De Gea. There was a lot of talk of him pining for home,
Mm-hmm.
going, staying at home, and then look how long he stayed on for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Money
nah, I
talks,
don't.
man. Money
Yeah,
talks.
but then remember, Valencia aren't particularly bags. You think times are hard over here? See what's going on at Valencia, mate. Their
Yeah, I
money
mean
is
they narrowly survived being relegated this past year, and they've had the issues with some of the racism things there, and we all know that a lot of other leagues are pretty cash strapped in a lot of ways, and they're no exception to it. So and it makes sense. I mean, like the thing about it, the thing that does is gives the report a little bit of light is the fact that they might be on the verge of losing their starting goalkeeper,
true.
Mamadou. So it kind of sets up that, hey, why don't you come back? And then for them, it allows them to make the sell of Mamadou, which is going to be a pretty decent amount because he's only 22. So they'll make a good amount of money off of him. And then what do you do in replacing him? You get a really cost effective buy with a guy like Guaita, who is still a legitimately serviceable goalkeeper too. So
Mm.
it's tough.
I
It's
mean,
tough.
if we let him go, I'd just go and get Soria. I think he's still available. We were linked with him for a while. I think he's Getafe's goalkeeper right now, actually, and he's doing bits.
They talk
He's
about
definitely
him
one.
getting picked up by Real Madrid as a backup.
So
Mm.
the thing is,
Mm.
Rob, the way the things are with clubs, right? And you can probably tell in my demeanor, like it's just such a depressing time right now to be a Palace fan, man.
Yeah, because there's more talk
So
about
it's
players
like
leaving than more players coming.
that's the thing. You ever heard of no news is good news? Unfortunately, with us, or any news is good news. With us, I feel like it's just no news is good news right about now because every time I'm reading
Always
about Crystal
bad
Palace and
news.
transfers and transfers, it's somebody walking out the door or
Yep.
somebody's leaving
Yep.
for half the price of what they're worth.
Yep. Exactly. That's the hard
So
part about it.
I think we just need to be a bit resilient with something, even if everything's in turmoil or on board level and in terms of decision making. We can at least be smart enough to come to the realization that Guaita is no bum, and I still think we can still get a good 12, 18, 24 months out of him before we would even consider letting him go. I feel like he's still got a couple seasons at this level with him.
Fully agree. Fully agree. So, in other news, actually, this just popped up recently and out of nowhere. Apparently, Newcastle is interested in our center back, Joachim Andersen. Newcastle are putting him under consideration. The right sided center back has impressed them with his time in the Premier League last season, and his ball playing ability makes him a suitable challenger to Fabian Schär, who currently is their starting one of their starting center backs, and that's from Football Transfers. So that's another one. I mean, Fabian Schär was a part of the old Newcastle regime that was there. Now he kept his job as the starting center back, but they brought in Sven Botman, obviously him, and that was really part of the new regime. So maybe Newcastle might be looking at making some more moves, and now apparently they're targeting Joachim Andersen for a move.
I don't know. I mean, from a Newcastle perspective, it makes sense. I mean, he's got the Premier League experience. He's very great at distributing the ball. They can offer him Champions League football. So that can't be ignored. However, I don't see any signs of him wanting to particularly leave. He seems really happy here. It all depends on the money and the pricing as well. We have to be a little bit more respectful. If they're going to pay the money, if they want to pay the money, I mean, they're about to wrap up a deal for, what was it, Tonali?
Yep.
Who
From
is,
AC Milan.
They've got to also think about financial fair play as well. And they're in a building block process, but they're in a more expensive building block process. And because they've got a Champions League football, they will be able to spend a lot more money. But at the same time, they've got to make sure the books look good because they will be scrutinized because of the way that their ownership even works anyway. Do I think it can happen? Yes. Do I think it will happen? Not really. I don't think Andersen's even on my radar players that we could possibly consider selling unless they blow us out the water with a crazy offer.
I said this on Twitter earlier, and I truly do believe this. If they come with 35 to 45 million for Andersen, I'm perfectly okay with it because then it allows us to, number one, keep Gahey, because now we don't feel pressure to sell because we've made a sell off of Andersen. Andersen, of those two, is the older one, so then it gives us a chance to build around a guy like Mark Gahey, and it gives us more money to work with as far as transfers. I mean, he's in his prime. I mean, he's in 26, 27, so I think right now for Andersen, I don't think his value is going to be any higher than what it is right now.
And no, because remember, it's always about, yes, you think the price is X, but as the selling club, we can demand whichever price we want.
True.
This is where, if we do end up selling him, we can be in the driving seat if the club is smart enough, because we know they're going to have Champions League football. We know their bank accounts are lined very massively. In fact, they have obscene money in comparison to us. You hit the nail on the head. He's in his prime. Also, you got to understand he's a Danish international. The guy's not a bum.
All those things make it to
even 45 million, I could justify a little bit more, If Newcastle want to buy one of our players, pay up. And for me, if it's Newcastle, I'm actually probably going to go down the 50, 60 million mark. I'm tired of us undervaluing our players. Why can't I demand that? How much is Fofana worth to Chelsea at the time? Now, people can say he's
70 or 80?
70, 80 million. Not capped for France at that point. He was with Leicester, but he didn't win the league with him. He was just a very young, bright, up-and-coming France under-21 defender, and he went for 70, 80 million.
Yep.
Why can't we demand the same for a player that's in his prime and his Premier League experience as well?
Yeah, consistent internet, like you said, consistent international, all these things, and that's why I never understood the undervalue of a guy like Mark Gahey, who is a consistent starter over the past 2 years, England international, the captain of our club. He's English, so that automatically takes guys'
English
value up
tax.
higher. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I want more money, man.
how can you dare sit there and say, oh, 40 million for Mark Gahey? It's like,
Look,
no.
put it this way. Doogie Friedman, pick up the phone, call me, bro. I won't even demand a salary. Just give me a finder's fee or give me a commission fee and we'll
Yeah,
get these
look.
deals. If you want to sell these players, bro, we'll sell these players for the price that I think they're worth, because it's like the media over the past few weeks have just been selling our squad one by one. I watched a video from another YouTube channel. It came up on my algorithm for another football club, and they were just sitting there talking about Eze like, oh, well, he's only worth about 30 million. Oh, well, he had the injury. Oh, well, he's only this, he's only that. And I'm sitting there thinking, is this what external clubs actually think of us?
Mm.
We need to kind of change the narrative a little bit here and be a bit more, show a bit of balls. You know what I mean? Just be a little bit more disrespectful, like, because I'm pretty sure. I mean, look at in fact, forget other clubs and other examples. The reality of the situation is, this is a key asset. This is a starter for my team. He is essential to the way we play, and he's essential to the club. If you want to buy that asset, you're paying the money, big man.
Facts.
Because we are at no obligation to sell.
And then when we're not any obligation to sell, and then it's negotiations. So because naturally, if we put our number out there, whenever we put our number out there, they're going to come in lower. You know what I mean? So my thing is, I'm not going to put my number at somewhere that is lower than what I'd be willing to accept. You know what I'm saying? So like, if I know that I'm not accepting anywhere south of 45 to 50 million for Andersen, I'm not going to start there, because if I start there, they're just going to offer me 30, 35. Like, look what they're doing with, like, West Ham's going through with Declan Rice. West Ham's like, no, we need 100 up front, and then like,
but that's what it is. I respect that, because
and then Arsenal's like,
this is the
we'll
narrative that all the clubs need to follow. Because and this is what Arsenal tried to do with us with Wilfred Zaha and tried to bully us. And I actually loved and respected the fact that Steve Parish stood strong and told them, go do one if you're not going to pay the money we want. Cash. Don't talk to man about no deposit, installments. It's right for Chelsea. Them man are doing some mad money laundering stuff. That's fine. But for us, we need that money, bro. I can't be relying on those Saudi backhanders like in other countries on the rest of it for our squad. We need that in cash, and I need it now. So, that's my narrative around that. If you want to come buy Andersen off us, you can buy him, but big man, it's going to cost you.
Facts.
And your big boy Newcastle, that's got more money than sense. Like, your owners own half of London, big man.
People gonna run it up on them. Just like before this season, people didn't want to do any business with them at all. They didn't want to give them transfers. Now it's like, okay, we running a checkup on you. And if you notice, even still, Newcastle doesn't seem like Newcastle's having the easiest time making domestic transfers.
Yeah, it seems that way, to be fair. And
I mean, Tonali's coming from Serie A.
That is crazy. I mean, already in that scenario, to be fair, they're doing bits over there, man. I mean, if you want Andersen, bro, you're paying the money. That's how I look at it. Show me the color of your money, because your money is different. Did you see how fast they rebuilt their training facilities?
That's crazy, isn't it?
Like, when you have got that kind of obscene kind of money,
fighting relegation to now preparing for the Champions League, that in a matter of
in what, 18 months?
2 years. Yeah, less than 2 years.
That's crazy. So you want to progress, you want to weaken the rest of the league to progress up the league. It's going to cost you, big man.
Yeah.
And then if we need be, we reinvest it in our own setup.
Yep,
because we have a budget, rude boy, and at the end of the day, you're not contributing to it.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not saying that we need to go out here and be super hard line with how we do things, but we need to have a set ideal of how we value our players and how we want to go about negotiating for our players. What's at least that we're willing to accept? Like, when do we walk away from the table? When do, like, you know what I'm saying? We need to have an understanding of that, because I think that's the type of structure that keeps you in the game long term.
I highly respect it. And I had another point on it. I think, I've kind of lost it, but essentially the way it is we just have to be tough with our players. I look at every potential sell of our club, unless it's a player we don't want, You have to look at like the Aaron Wan-Bissaka model.
Yep.
We developed this player. He came out of nowhere. He was in our first team. He was going places. Big boy club comes along. You're paying the money. They paid the money. We reinvested it, allegedly.
Allegedly.
So why are we not following this model elsewhere?
Exactly.
It's even with the Mark Gay links.
Why are we not continuing to do that?
It's like with the Mark Gay links. I'm now hearing that Tottenham have dropped out, Arsenal have dropped out because they think he's too expensive at 50 million, by the way.
Fine.
Cool. Go. See you later. Let him stay because in X amount of years, when he is balling out for England and he's balling out as Palace defender, as club captain, exactly. The price just went up, big man. You should have bought him when he was cheap.
Yep, exactly. So do what you want to do. Let us if it's too much for too rich for your blood, cool. Let us roll on. You know what I mean? Because somebody gonna pay it.
Yeah.
Somebody gonna pay it. This is world soccer, world football. Somebody gonna pay it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna roll on to the last subject of today's show, and that comes from I guess you say France, but London News Online actually reported the story that Crystal Palace turned down a little bit over $1 million offer, about a 1.5 million pound offer for Jake O'Brien from Troyes, who's actually going to be relegated and going down to the second tier of French football. But they came in and offered 1.5 for him, and apparently we swiftly turned that one down. So just give me your thoughts on that move from Palace. Apparently O'Brien is actually going into the last year of his contract with us, and we were pretty quick to say no to them with that contract offer.
I like it. This is exactly what we've kind of been steering the narrative of the whole video, and we finally got there. You see what I'm saying? Because he's a young, exciting player for us. He's done some very impressive things, and he's improved as a player last season. He done some amazing things at Molenbeek. He could potentially be going back over there, playing Belgian first division football without having to sell him as an asset. We could just get him to sign a new deal and potentially lend him out. I feel like he's definitely built as a very, very solid up and coming back centre back. Do we sell him for 1.3 million to a League 2 team?
No.
Nah. And at the end of the day, if he does sign a deal, that bit I'm not really too privy to, because I guess you've got to kind of look at his direct path to the first team. And I feel like there are at least a good 4 or 5 players in front of him as it stands now. But then we're one injury crisis away from him breaking into that team very quickly.
Yes.
Because if you look at young centre backs in the club that are ready, and we are following this youth policy, he's the kind of players that you're going to want to be looking at, sort of integrating into the squad in cup games and things like that. So,
because by that mark, he's number 4 by that mark. If you're following, because you take Tompkins out of that equation, because he's not young.
Fair enough.
And then at that point, in front of him, it's Andersen, Gahey, Richards.
And exactly.
Like you said, that's one injury away from you seeing significant appearances on the bench, if not playing in matches and things. So he's a man mountain. He's 6'5".
He's a man. Like he's not no boy. He's a boy in age only. Yeah. This guy is a man, bro. Even if you just see a couple clips or highlights of what he was doing in Belgium, granted it was the Belgian second division, but he looks like he could potentially be one of the ones I would like to see in pre-season. I'd give him a new contract, loan him out. I have no problems with that. Yeah. But I feel like it would be a waste of his talent sending him to that kind of club in that kind of situation. And especially for 1.5 million, that doesn't even remotely feel right with me.
No, if I'm being honest, he's 22 years old. He's 6'5". He just made 31 appearances for a team that literally controlled the Belgian second division going into that promotion. So he's played big time minutes. He's going to be a full-time international soon. For
exactly,
Ireland. He's going to be a full-time international soon. I think you got to re-sign him. I think get him re-signed, and then give him the preseason to figure out what we want to do, and also the reason why I say don't loan him out too soon is just because of the fact that you need to see how preseason goes. Somebody might get hurt. You know what I mean? We don't know.
Facts.
We don't know. Somebody might get hurt, and like you said, one injury from him being involved and possibly being a first team guy for us. You know what I mean? So give him the preseason. I honestly think him going back to Molenbeek would be a good move because he'll be playing top level football in Belgium, and there's a lot of talent in that league. And he'll be making a lot of appearances. You know what I'm saying? Like the reason why I didn't like the move to Troyes was number one because it wasn't enough money, and number two because I think he's better than that league. I think he's better than that level at this point. He's really worked his way up. I mean, he was with Swindon, then he went to Molenbeek. Like I feel like he's above that.
But here's the interesting narrative as well. With preseason coming up very, very soon, and the way our squad's looking, he might play.
Yeah, facts. We don't know
very easily. Like, because I'm already kind of sweating about that, man. What is it? 10 days preseason training starts.
Mm-hmm.
So, he might be needed. So, not for me. And it just falls under the same narrative. You want a player that's hot, pay the money.
Yep. I mean, because I think, I think that low ball offer simply came because he hasn't broken into the first team and he's only got 12 months left on his contract. That's the only reason why we saw that type of low ball offer. If he had 2-3 more years on his contract, I think you see offers closer to 5 for his services. You know what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that feels like we're being robbed there. I don't want it. We need to be a little bit more of a big boy when it comes to the negotiating table. For sure.
Because that dude could be a steal for that amount. He goes there, kicks butt, they get promoted, and then Troyes ends up selling him to somebody big for 20 million, and then we looking like, oh man, like that should have been our 20 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we need to box a bit clever than that, and I'm happy that the club's rejected it, to be fair. So it seems that we are capable of actually having a pulse, but we will see.
Yeah, these are good points. Like Quarian says, Andersen had some injuries last season. Richardson had some injuries last season. Fuck, Tompkins was getting hurt in practice, in training. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm like,
we were having to play Joe Ward centre back in that. Never again, bro.
Yeah, Joe Ward saw time at center back. It's like, come on, man. Like, yeah, I mean, sign this dude up. Like I said, and he's a man. He's the biggest center back that we have right now.
Oh yeah,
by far, and he's young. Like, I don't know. I'm keeping him around. That's just me personally, though. So, but we're gonna wrap it up. But hey, shout out to everybody that tuned in today, man. We appreciate you all tapping in with us, man. For those who are watching for the first time, don't forget. Like, comment, subscribe. We try to do Palace News shows multiple times throughout the week, depending on what we see and hear. We'll have some more content coming up for you all later on in the week as well. But for myself and for AJ, we appreciate you all. And as always, man, up the Palace.